Hi, everybody. I'm Suzanne Westrum, the CEO for the Prescott Area Association of Realtors, and I'm here with Faye Humphrey, our president of the board, and we will be right back with our show. Okay, well, thank you all for joining us today. I'm really excited to have our president of the board, Faye Humphrey. She's the broker owner of KMF Real Estate here in Prescott. How you doing today, Faye?
I'm doing really well, Suzanne. Thanks for asking. It's nice to have these cooler temperatures.
I know, it actually rained on me a little bit this morning. I was very excited.
Absolutely.
So we're kind of going into the latter part of this year, and I think a lot of people think that summertime is the time to buy and sell, but what can we look forward to in the kind of the fall market here in Prescott?
Well, it's really interesting, Suzanne. We do have a lot of people who think that summer is the time. And many of those people, of course, are escaping, the triple digits down in the valley and other places. But then we also have people that come to town with the idea of, I want to be someplace in the pines. I want some snow. I want that sort of thing as a second home, as an escape, etc. But we also have that third and fourth set of buyers, those people that are retiring. And they have listened to and seen every list across the country that puts Prescott, and we appreciate it, in the top 5 or the top 10 places to retire. Yeah. So those people are taking a look at us, and they don't really have a season. They're looking all the time. And then we have the other folks that have taken a job transfer, and they have to be here in 60 days.
Right.
So it doesn't matter, winter or summer, those people are going to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's great for us and great for our realtor members here too.
Absolutely.
So what's going on in the market? We just had our latest market report go out, and let's bring up that graphic of all the statistics from our area. What can you tell us about how things are looking in our market right now?
Interestingly enough, we have the same issues that everyone else across the country has, with one glaring exception. On every list, we are one of the best places to live. We get a lot of those kudos. Nothing we can do about interest rates. Rates are what they are. So yes, does that preclude some people from buying at a 7% interest rate? Absolutely it will. And do we have a lack of inventory? Well, we have like 1,040 homes, something like that, on the market in the Quad City areas right now. And, this time last year, we had a much smaller number. So our inventory is picking up. But it's still, when you think about the number of transactions, we did almost 500 transactions last month. That's not a lot of inventory. As a matter of fact, if we didn't get another listing, we would have all of our inventory sold in less than 4 months. So lack of inventory, interest rates being high, universally across the country. What we have going for us is, even though we look at the prices and go, well, prices are high, and they are. When you think about the average price in Prescott proper being in excess of $600,000, that's a lot of money. That is not a starter home by and large. But you do look at the fact that we have other areas. We have Dewey, we have Prescott Valley, we have Chino Valley, and some other areas that do allow people to drive a little bit further, but yet get something in the more affordability range. But even at that, those affordability ranges are now in the 400s.
Right. So what's something that you tell somebody who is seeing these numbers? They might be a first-time home buyer, and they're feeling like this is a little bit too much for me. What kind of counsel do you give them?
Absolutely. And the counsel really depends on the person and their situation. Often you look at it, if they are a first-time home buyer, and there are many programs, including one within the county. Some of the cities have first-time home buyer grants.
Right.
And if you stay in the home for a period of time, that grant does not have to be repaid. Many of them have family members that can perhaps lend them a down payment, etc. And then often I really encourage people to take a look at, if we can find it, a multifamily. And with doing that, they now can rent out 1, 2, or 3 of the units out of a maximum of 4 and use that to help them qualify for a loan.
Right.
And so now they're having someone else effectively pay their housing costs for them.
Yeah.
Doesn't always work because we do not have an unlimited supply of those
Right.
things in our area. But I always have them look at that. And I'll tell you, I was never, ever a fan of going into a car lot and asking how much this particular car cost, and the answer being, well, it'll only be, $9.95 a month. However, I am encouraging agents to really talk about budgets. It's very
Right.
important.
Mhm.
Everybody has a budget. I don't care if it's Suzanne, myself, Rockefeller. Everybody has a budget. I'm only going
Right.
to pay X amount of money, or I only can pay X amount of money for my housing cost. And a good place to start is, what are you paying now for rent?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you compare 7% interest on a loan to rent, which is 100% interest,
Mm-hmm.
because none of that
Right.
goes to building your equity as a
Right.
buyer. And if you can go through some of those things, it's always a great time to buy real estate. It just has to be the right real estate.
Yeah, that's ultimately what made me decide to buy. Is I was renting and I felt like I'm not really getting anything out of this. I loved what I rented, but buying, I get to build that equity and I actually get to own something, which I didn't
Absolutely.
before. And that's just a good feeling for me.
It is. And I'll tell you, Suzanne, I've been doing this for a long, long time, and I am continually surprised at the number of people that don't understand building equity for themselves.
Right.
They look at it much the same way as rent. And of course, nothing could be further from the truth.
Mhm.
When you are developing that equity, even if it's just making the payments and part of that is going to principal, over time, you will have equity in your home. But more often than not, we have been the great benefactors of being in an area where our values have gone up. Now, for a while, they were going up at a pace that we knew couldn't
Mhm.
sustain itself,
Right.
but now they're going up at a nice rate that will be sustainable, and you can build that equity, and it's not money that you're putting out every month, but instead the market is helping you. So I really encourage people to look at those things.
Yeah.
And I know it might pinch toes for a while to make that payment, but more often than not, even at 7%, you can make a payment that is not far, if perhaps even less, than you were paying in rent. And I don't want to put you on the spot and ask you your numbers, but we've had a number of people come into our office and they were paying this much for rent. And when we found something that they liked, et cetera, they wound up with a payment that actually included taxes as well as insurance. And their monthly outlay from their budget was less than they'd been paying in rent.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned prices a little bit. Let's talk about median price. We've got a graphic for median prices. First of all, can you explain? I get this question all the time from people: median versus average price and what that means.
Well, average, of course, is we take everything that closed and we put it together and we divide it by the number of transactions. That's the average. Median is the number where there's an equal amount that sold lower and an equal amount that sold higher. So this just puts us at the median. And I think it's a better reflection of what we're doing. Absolutely. And we have seen the median price go up in virtually every market here in the Quad Cities. And of course, as most of you know, Quad Cities from our perspective is Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, and Dewey-Humboldt area. And in some areas, in Dewey-Humboldt, for example, where I live, our median price has not gone up as dramatically as it has in Prescott and Prescott Valley. And when I first got here about a decade ago, often when people would walk into the office in Prescott and say, I'd like to look at something Prescott, they couldn't really afford that, we would just go, well, Prescott Valley, not a problem. And Prescott Valley has seen great growth,
right?
And their prices have gone up, et cetera. So now we often have to go a little further. Maybe we're going to Dewey or we're going to Chino. And even Chino's prices have really gone up very nicely. Those people that bought out there are very happy people. And we are at a point where the median sales price has really been very steady. If we really look at the numbers, it's declined just a fraction, but it really has remained very steady over this last year.
Yes, absolutely. And you talk about the growth here. I've only been here about 2.5 years, and I can't believe how much growth has happened in just that amount of time. People tell me all the time that Prescott Valley was a dirt road, and that's where I live now, and I can't even imagine because there's so much out there.
Sure. Well, I will say that by and large, Prescott Valley was not reduced to a lot of dirt roads when I got here.
Right.
But having spent a lot of years in the valley and the Scottsdale area, much of the development that was done in Prescott Valley, there's Luce Road, there's Robert Road, there's those. That gentleman, Robert Luce, worked for me for many, many years as a salesperson down there, and he developed that many years ago. So it's really interesting to look at it now, and people say, oh, you live in Dewey, so you must live on a dirt road. No, I don't. It's right off Foothills Drive. It's nicely paved, and all of that's taken care of. And there's a large part of that is true in Chino as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So could you wind up living on a dirt road? Absolutely. And sometimes that dirt road is worth it because it might reduce the price a bit.
Right. But I think that's the thing, is there's something for everybody that they can find here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did have an agent say to me yesterday, which I thought was really interesting. We do have a lot of manufactured homes in our areas, and we absolutely do.
Yeah.
And there was a time, you probably don't remember it because you're so much younger than I am, but there was a time when if someone went into a manufactured home, there was the demarcation that somehow that was, lower and et cetera, et cetera. But today, manufactured homes are so well built in factories, and when they are placed properly on a piece of real estate and affixed to it, they appreciate in value just as a stick-built home would do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's amazing. You talked about months of inventory a bit. Let's bring that graphic up real quick. First, can you explain what months of inventory means?
Absolutely. It means if we didn't get another listing, how long it would take us to sell the ones we have.
And so right now it looks like we've got 3.5 months of inventory. So what does that mean for people here?
The good news is it means we have a little more inventory than we did last year and the year before, which was really low inventory. So there are more choices often, and that's probably the biggest thing it means. From a seller's perspective, they are no longer able to just say, gosh, 35 people are in a bidding war for my house. We're still seeing multiple offers on some properties, but it's not the way it was, 2 and 3 years ago. But that's all it means, is that that's the amount of inventory that we have to sell if we didn't take another listing.
And so what do people need to be aware of? They're seeing this tight inventory here. Some people might feel, a seller might love it because it might mean they can get a better price. But what about for buyers? What do they need to know?
Well, I think it comes at two levels. Yes, our inventory is greater today by a little bit than it was this time last year. It's significantly greater than it was 2 years ago. And I think from a buyer's perspective, I have more to choose from. It's like going into any store and you want to buy a blouse and the store says, well, we have this one in black and that one in black. Which one would you like? And today it's like we have one in all of these colors, multiple designs. Which one would you like? And houses are much the same way. We have more inventory, more from which to choose. Now, here's what it says to sellers often. There's more inventory, so I'm not going to be able to get as much for my home. And there is some truth to that. They are not going to be able to get, 10, 20, 25% above list price. And we were consistently seeing that happen, a year plus ago. So today, I think a seller has to make sure that they're listening to the real estate agent. They're looking at the comparables in their area, that is properties that have sold, and understand that in order to see a relatively quick sell, they are going to have to be cognizant of pricing in their area and stay within that. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, I want to say a quick shout out to people on Facebook. We have Brent Wofford saying great information. Thank you, Brent. Prescott 365, loving hearing about the history. We love giving the history. Quad City Business News saying great information. And Janelle, who is our president-elect, saying nice job. So thank you guys for tuning in and commenting.
Absolutely.
Before we finish or wrap up, I want to touch a little bit on the value of a realtor. So we've done a lot of talking about the market here. You're definitely going to have people that think, well, I'm sure I can maybe YouTube it and figure out how to sell my house myself. What can you say about why someone should work with a realtor? What value that realtor brings? Why they need to do that?
Thanks for asking that question. I really appreciate that question. To me, first and foremost, it has to do with the code of ethics. If we are a realtor, and by the way, every real estate licensee is not a realtor. A realtor means that they belong to the Association of Realtors, the state association, the national association. But more importantly, what it means is they've actually held up their hand and said, I promise, I vow that I will follow this code of ethics. Right. And that it will be a win-win, and I will be fair to everyone, and I will be honest, and I will do those things. So I think that's a big part of it. From there, it comes down to making sure that when you're interviewing realtors, and by the way, I think you should talk to more than one, and I don't mean to upset your brother-in-law if he or your sister-in-law are realtors, but I think you should talk to more than one. We interview almost everyone in our life. Mm-hmm. The first physician I went to here, I didn't really care for his bedside manner, so I didn't choose to allow him to be my caregiver. I've gone to a couple of car dealerships, and I like one and I didn't like the other. So you need to interview, and you need to really find out. And it's not how many deals they've done or those kind of things, but it's, do they really understand the market? And that comes down to the things we've been talking about. The inventory, what it means to that particular client, what they can expect. And I would also ask an agent, please tell me exactly what you're going to do to market my home or my property. It doesn't have to be a home, of course. And make sure that they're skilled in those things. Now, they may not have all of those skills. They may be working with a team. So they may have somebody who's a great, marketing person, etc. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you need to know what to expect. Set the expectations. Now, here's something that's going to upset some real estate agents that might be listening to this. But I think not only should the real estate professional be setting expectations, but the client should be setting expectations, and we should get those to match. Mm-hmm. And the one complaint that I know universally is sounded at the Department of Real Estate, at AAR, and I'm sure at our local association is failure to communicate, failure to disclose. So you want to make sure that you have hired someone, and you're going to hire someone, again, whether you're a buyer or a seller, who listens to you, who you can communicate with, and who you feel comfortable with, that they actually know the market and they've got a plan for what they're going to do to either get you into a property or get you out of a property. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I would say, I think in any industry, any workplace, any situation, communication is always the thing that is so crucial. And I think finding out ahead of time, do you want to text all the time? Do you want to do phone calls? Do you want to have in-person meetings? Just finding out how you want to be communicated with, and make sure that your realtor that you select is going to work with you on those things.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I would really suggest, again, to both realtor and public alike, and that is that once you've interviewed, once you feel like you've got a meeting of the minds and we're comfortable with what our expectations are, then I think a responsible real estate professional is going to actually put that in writing. So that the other side is able to look back at that and go, oh yeah, we talked about that. Oh yeah, I can expect that. And it, I believe, almost completely, never going to completely, almost completely eliminates the possibility of having a communication problem in terms of, you never told me that, or I didn't know that, or I didn't know the importance of that. And as I am often fond of quoting Susan Scott, you sometimes have to have fierce conversations with people. And it feels a little awkward, but if you walk into a property that you're going to list and there's dirty clothes everywhere and their pet snake is running free, well, I guess he's not running, slithering free, you've got to talk about that, because most people are not going to go past the front door if there's something like that.
Absolutely. When I was house hunting, I saw some things that I'm not sure helped in the sell.
This wonderful girl never thought she'd have to see and doesn't want to see again.
Right.
But I really do believe it comes down to having that conversation where the expectations are set. We're both going to live up to it. And you said something key, and that is to find out how we want to be communicated with. Many people love text. I kind of like it myself. Many people really want the phone call because they want that human connection. And by the way, I think you should do a lot of that. But many people send it to me in an email, and then I'll read it at my leisure.
Right.
But if it's something I need you to do right now or pay attention to, I probably am going to try to convince you to let me send you a text so you at least are aware of the fact that I sent that email to you.
Right.
You need to look at it.
Right. So as we wrap up, I've got one last question. Getting out your crystal ball, any predictions you have for the upcoming market here?
I think everyone would agree with me that we're in an interesting place in our history of both our state and our country. And anytime we are approaching a major election cycle, as we are, we'll have a presidential election next year, it causes the market to go a little bit squirrely. And often the squirrely is interest rates will come down, people will start to, want to do things, but sometimes it causes them to have caution and go, I don't know what the end of next year will bring. I don't know what that will look like. Well, none of us know. And for example, anyone out there that perhaps had an opportunity to buy last year, the year before, and were concerned about how things were going in the country, today I'm guessing you're regretting that decision. Values have gone up and interest rates have gone up as well. Right. Same thing with sellers. I think many people probably go, wow, I wish I'd done something. In our area, because we have so much beauty, we have so many people that really wish to live here. I think we're going to have a pretty good 2024. I think we're going to finish out the year 2023 pretty good. Will we be killing it with a record after record after record? No, I don't think so. But we're not even halfway to a true balanced market yet. And true balanced is when we have 6 months worth of inventory.
Right.
So I think people that are working, doing their job, had an agent say to me yesterday, Faye, I've been doing this for 26 years in this area, solo agent, and I do about 58 to 60 transactions every year, and I do the same things every day. So it comes down to, as real estate professionals, if we do the task, the results will show up and our clients will benefit.
I see we got a question in. We'll just talk on real quick. Anything about there's more questions coming up. When is our next vlogcast going to be? So we are doing this every second Wednesday of the month. So our next one is going to be Wednesday, October 11th. I'll have a new guest with me. If you have some ideas on a topic or anything or a guest that you think would be great for us to bring on our show, please reach out and let us know. You can comment on our Facebook and let us know. In the meantime, thank you so much, Faye, for joining us today and giving us this rundown on what's going on in our local market.
Absolutely. If anybody has any questions, they're welcome to reach out to either one of us. We'd be happy to take those questions. And we appreciate you guys checking in with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can visit PAAR.org, our website, or our Facebook page. And again, let us know if there's a topic in the future you want to know about. We'll probably be doing some giveaways on some of our future shows too. So be sure to tune in. So until next time, thank you so much for watching.
Thanks.